Hey guys, this is Charlie and James, and this is our level. We set out to make a 2D platform about a rat who wishes to fly. The design principles we used were teaching without teaching, focal points as guiding lights for the player, anticipation, rewards, and progression and pace. Our game is presented and delivered with a voiceover to emphasize and build on each of these principles, and it also humanizes the rat and provides humor.
Cool. So we actually started with the Paper 2D model system in Unreal. We actually built out the cave, and we'd done a couple of iterations, but we were finding that it was a little bit too difficult to work with. And basically, you have to be an artist to be able to do this, and I am definitely not. Charlie's probably closer than me. So we literally went back to the drawing board to do this in 2.5D. So Charlie did an amazing job at redesigning this because he's much better with a pencil. And here's his first little iteration.
Yeah. So this is the first iteration of what we're doing where you leave the nest and introducing our controls to the player. And this is where our teaching without teaching really comes in. And our focal points, you can see the light is pushing in the direction where we want the players to go. And then we realized we needed to not let the player go backwards and push them forward. So we changed that there. And so this is our final level, our starting area, and where you would run along and we'll have a bit of screen shake to like have these stalactites dropping from the roof for the player to avoid, which forces them to use the movement controls. And here's some drawings with our teaching without teaching. So each jump is designed to slowly teach the player how to get from A to B safely. So we focused on iterations of each mechanic in like three stages. So you have one jump where it's completely safe, then you have another one which is safe again but with a puzzle. So here you've got to do the double jump to get over. And then finally the third iteration is with danger. So you can see the rat fox jumping left and right here, using its skills to avoid the danger while also learning. And things like this safety ledge there is also designed to help players out and push them along. So this is some iterations of our jump and adding in some danger to force the player to go into different little sections and play differently.
So you can see there's some wind up there. Ooh, what is that? I wish I could get up there. And the voiceover will actually sort of prompt you like, oh, there's some wind flowing everywhere. And there's also pickups, and the voiceover will also touch on that. It's like, oh, these pickups, I wonder what they do. I better collect them anyway. So it sort of guides you a bit. It's sort of like teaching you to do the things, but without actually explicitly forcing you to do anything. And so you can see the wind's actually throwing you around in this bit. And so the idea is that we're introducing wind as a mechanic early on, and it later becomes a heavily used mechanic because these are actually just jets coming off the lava. But later on, the rat, or in this case it's a fox because we couldn't find a rat model, he actually learns how to fly because he picks a cape up from a dragon that is coming up later.
And here you can see our rewards mechanic in play, where you search and you find these collectibles, which will again play into the upgrading of the character. And now the mechanic of digging is being introduced. So this again is in that 3 iterative process. We have the mechanic just being introduced straight away with no puzzles, no danger, and the player can run through. And then we're also going through it again with a little bit of a movement through it to show the player can go in different directions. And then here we introduce a puzzle you can't get through, and the player must double jump and dig through the top. Finally, we add danger, and by this point, players understand the mechanic and apply it themselves in the level. And now finally, all the main things are introduced. We wanted the players to start feeling challenged at this point. They wanted to combine all 3 of these things with wind, digging, and jumping and moving. And as you can see in this iteration of a puzzle we have done, we have all forms of that. So we have the digging through the top. First, you can see in this picture here, we got none of the elements in there, but just the grey boxes of how we wanted to present it. And then eventually we add the digging sections here, and you can see the wind on the column on the left there and all sorts.
So the idea was that you'd dig through the sand here, the columns would fall down, and Charlie will die, but then he'll get back up, and the columns fall down and actually become platforms for you to get across to the secret. But if you don't dig through the sand up above, then the columns won't fall down, and you will die if you try and get across there.
And notice the guiding light there. So this puzzle here has two ways to solve. The idea is players to jump and dig through the digging areas, and if they fail to dig through the correct spots, they can fall to the bottom and unlock this air fissure, which will blow them up. So this is so players have multiple ways to solve it, and also don't fail. We want them to feel good.
Yeah. And this bit, you can see that there's like no clear indication of where you're meant to go, but apart from the light on the other side, which gives you that guide to the jump, so you can feel somewhat secure in where you're jumping.
Yeah.
By this stage, the players probably picked up on the fact that we've put lights everywhere to help them know where to go.
Yeah, so this section is really everything's combined. The player feels confident, we let him go.
Yeah, and also at this point, we're building up suspense. We're like repeating an action, so the music's going to die down, and the breathing of the dragon is going to intensify, and the voiceover is also going to be like, oh, what's coming up? It feels creepy. And then the rat picks up this little cape, and here's a couple of iterations of the dragon. We played around with this. I was going to put a grey box like James said, but went for a real one. It looks a bit more impressive. And then we finally pick up the cape.
So here the player's feeling really tense, and you're sneaking past the dragon, and our first idea was the stalactites were all going to drop and wake him up and block your path, but we didn't really need that because the inspiration to run from a dragon's already there. So there you have the first jumping platform with the cape to let you glide a little bit, but then it's all onto the player to run and jump over this next area where the lava has risen up and you have to fly through the area, dodging these bat-like creatures and riding the jets all the way through. So this is the first iteration, and this is supposed to be where the intensity of the level really peaks, and everything's flying. The players are feeling stressed. There's a dragon right behind them, breathing all this air and fire, which you're riding out of the cave. And again, you can see the guiding gems on the back here, showing the optimal path for the player to take. And Jimmy?
And now we're back to a safety platform. The dragon's going to run into those columns and won't be able to get past, but he's going to keep blowing the air because he's frustrated with you. And so there's a whole lot of secrets placed around all this area, but it also gives the player a bit of freedom to like play around with the mechanic and just go exploring.
And also revisit earlier things in the level which they may have missed, because there is plenty of secrets.
And then you'll see this light coming from the cave entrance, and it's shining rays of light out. And then obviously it's going to be like, oh yeah, that's where we need to go. It's up above. And then that's it.
That's our level. Thank you very much.
Hope you enjoyed it.